Save big money at Menards. Keep your lawn looking its best with Menards Premium 4-Part Fertilizer Program. Each step is tailor-made for the health of your lawn. Get started this spring with a bag of crabgrass preventer with lawn food. Apply just once early in the spring to feed your lawn for over 2 months. Pick it up in our garden center today and check out Menards.com for more hot deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
Hey, I'm Mark Goodman.
And I'm Alan Light.
On today's podcast, in celebration of International Guitar Month, Pete Townsend of The Who will join us.
Pete went deep with us into his relationship with the guitar and with music in general, the new Broadway version of Tommy. He clarified the status and the future of The Who, and much, much more.
Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Light, the only music podcast that matters. Get it on Pandora, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Listen, I'm the last of my kind, designed with a purple heart. I'm all that's left, a breathtaking work of art. First family, fire and squad, front linesman with the escargot flow. I'm a diamond to a diamond.
Billy Dan's new release, We Busy, the listening session, features collaborations with Premier, Method Man Havoc, Lil Fame, Cormega, and much, much more. It's an incredible release with that legendary hip-hop artist, Billy Dan, from the legendary hip-hop group M.O.P. joins me today. Billy, thank you so much for being here on the library with Tim Monaco. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Thank you. So this wasn't going to be my first question, but then, of course, DJ Kayslay released the Rolling 50 Deep project single. And I had to ask you about it because what's amazing on it is that every artist on it is strong and there's like no one you want to skip. And I just wanted to ask you from a artist's point of view, when someone like Kayslay goes to you and tells you his plan, how do you prepare for that?
See, that's the thing with this particular release. Everybody's busy. Myself, Kayslay, Fame, everybody on the project on this particular song is busy from what I know.
Right.
So when Kayslay contacted me, I was literally on the set shooting some stuff that I'm shooting, and he just said, "Yo, I need you on this." I'm like, "All right, cool." He like 8 bars. All right, cool. That was it. So I had no clue that this was, what he had. He was pulling some Frankenstein kind of colossal record together. So I had no clue. And that allowed me to be honest with what the beat made me do, as opposed to going, oh, such and such gonna come behind me, or I'm going after this person, so I gotta make sure, bop, bop, bop. You know what I'm saying? So I just did what the beat told me to do, which was really great. And I thank Kayslay for that, and I thank him for all the support that he's showed me and my family over the years.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, that's amazing. That's incredible to know that you didn't know who was going to go before you, who was going to go after you. And I
had no clue on what was going on, bro.
That's incredible. That's amazing. That's great. All right, so I want to turn to you. I mean, to the work you've done. Prior to the interview, of course, researching, kind of figure out what more about you. Something that stood up. You had a conversation with the journalist Brian Coleman, and you told him, "quote We M.O.P. do yell a lot, but we're never mad. We're just frustrated at the way shit goes in hip hop and in the world." So it was interesting. So I was surprised with your new release. We Busy, the listening session, is that the track Don't Believe Ya, which is the first track on this release, is a very chill, calm, smooth track. What was your thinking in terms of being more smooth, chill on this versus being, the M.O.P. we all know?
Well, see, smooth, that was definitely not my plan, but I learned to let the beat guide me through what I decide to talk about and how I decide to talk about it. So the cadence that I'm using lyrically, my leads, is just more of I'm not rapping, I'm just explaining. And the ad-libs, it's like ooh, shit. It's just wild as shit. It just pops out whenever it pops out. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, and this is why we entitled this particular release The Listening Session, because I want you to listen. I want you to listen to what I have to say. So I'm not really rapping, I'm explaining. And that's what the beat made me do. And before I even wrote to any of these beats on this particular release, I listened to them because the beats made me want to do that.
That's awesome. Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So it's more about that, bro. It's not like I'm trying to change my style or change the way that I approach a record. I'm just doing what the beat tells me to do.
Nice. And I have to agree that it's this, even though you quote unquote change up your flow on this, it does, you know, in a good way hit you over the head that, you know, lyrically and, you know, that we, I think as fans have always expected out of, you know, you and an M.O.P project, you know, M.O.P, but not just as a group, but also as solo artists. Of course, the track Gotham featuring Method Man is kind of this, you know, statement New York City needs. And I want to ask you about, where do you see New York City hip hop? But, you know, you came out at a time when, and I will ask this because I just interviewed Goody Mob, and you came out at a time where, like, at 94, where, you know, Outkast and Goody Mob were trying to make a statement about Southern hip hop, because New York was just, you know, leading it in the game, and even LA was kind of taking, you know, coming as well. And we fast forward to the statement about that you and Meth make about to New York. Where do you see New York now in hip hop? But also, did you ever feel that it lost its way and people were trying to maybe sound like they weren't from New York anymore?
You know what? I won't call it that, because I think people outside of the tough guyness or I represent where I'm from, I think music is just music, and people go along with what the feel or the sound is now. This is what people do now. Before I got into music, we had about 10 artists worldwide. They were all amazing, and they all sounded different. I think the kids, the young artists now are just really more in it for the business or the money side of it, which that's cool too, because it's something that belongs to us, and if it's making money, our people should be making money from it. So I think they're just kind of geared more towards what they hear on the radio or the popular sound, which we're all kind of, most people are kind of guilty of that. So I think hip hop is supposed to grow. The sound is supposed to change. Wherever the stronghold is, that's supposed to change. And we're supposed to continue. Like, can you imagine, bro, if we had to come back after 20 years or 40 years of this music and run into Kool Herc or whoever the founders are of this music, and we tell them that it's still the same way it was when they started it in the Bronx, or, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Nobody's making no money from it. Nobody's really benefit from it at all. Right. And it's still the same way. Like, they would not be happy about that, I don't think.
No.
You know what I mean, every business and everything should grow. It should branch out. It should get bigger than it was when it started. And that's where we are now. So, but as far as New York City hip hop, I think hip hop itself, whether it's from New York, whether it's from Detroit, California, anywhere, I think it's still solid. Like, you got, you know, I just put a release out, The Listening Session. Last year we had a Gangstar out. Earlier this year we had a Gangstar album. What else? Chic Loots just dropped the record. The Lox just dropped the record. You know, Smith & Wesson is dropping a record. Busta Rhymes just dropped one of the most amazing records. So hip hop is still alive, man. Yeah, still going. Regardless to where it came from or where it is now, it's still moving. And that's what I'm happy about.
And also, I think also very impressive is that not just the amount of albums that are being dropped in hip hop, but obviously the caliber of all these albums. And we're doing it during a pandemic.
Yeah,
you know,
isn't that crazy?
It's like, yeah, because you're not touring, right? You know,
Right.
you're like, but you're kind of creating this amazing art that is pushing, I think, the music and the culture forward. You Method Man is on this track, and he obviously, like, you two together, I mean, it works perfect, and you could tell you could kind of that friendly make each other push your game up a little bit. What kind of impresses you most about Method Man on this track, but also kind of when you first heard him, what was that thing that stood out about him?
Well, I'm excited about what he did on this record. He bodied it.
Yeah.
But I'm excited that I feel the same way I felt when I first heard Method Man.
Nice.
Dude, his rhythm is ridiculous. I mean, ridiculous. You could go back from, the meth will come out tomorrow, gone, peace, I'm out, Wazzaro, flow, with more afro, Deralo. You're like, what? And even on this, you talk about it while I live it, my business not for critics, or black fit, I get it, like Curly Lock and Cynics. I'm like, wow. So he still has that rhythm that attracted me to him as an artist in the first place. And to say this without any disrespect at all, he's getting better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's continuously getting better. So I'm like, oh my God, this is dope. And the thought of having him on Gotham, there was a few people that kind of hit my head when I thought about who do I feel like is a superhero in this music industry. Method Man has been consistently solid from the beginning. And not only do I like him as an artist, but I like him as a person. He's always been the same person to me. Whether it be him jumping out of a sunroof of a limousine because he's seen me on the street on 34th Street just to stop to kick it with me.
Wow.
Or if I see him in Germany somewhere and he'll come to my dressing room, or I'll see him in the hallway and it's like, yo, what up? So it's always the same. And that superhero thought that I have of Meth is not just my personal thought, but it is my personal thought. But I see it from around the world. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, you're right. He just continuously gets better and better, and it's not. Yeah, and you're right. Not taking anything away from him, right? It's about. I think what I like most, what I really like about this is that you have a track with your son, La Boogie. Damn, and I mean, to be able to do that, I think share a passion with your family, and obviously not do it as like a favor for your family, because your son is able to hold his own, obviously. What does it mean for you to be able to do this, to rhyme on the same track as your son?
Oh, it's amazing, bro. Like if you ever have a conversation with my son, he'll tell you that I don't, not just because he's my son. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That's it. But he set the tone for this entire record. I found the beat, but then he was like, yeah, I like it. Give me a couple of days. I gave him a couple of days, and I loved what he came back with. So my son, he can do all different styles of music. He can keep up with the M.O.P sound whenever he wants to. But now he's in this space where he's making these records that feels good. And I'm really proud of him for that. And he actually has talent. That's the key. That is really the key, because I don't give a damn whose son he was. If he wasn't dope, he would not be on this record. So hats off to him. And I'm gonna brush my shoulders off a little bit too for trying to for trying to guide him the right way in music and in life. And he did really good on this record. And I've been getting a lot of feedback from this record. I think maybe because it's your son, but it's like your son could make music like that. Right. You know what I mean? So I appreciate it, and I think he's deserved his shot in the game. We're just trying to position him the right way, and I think he's going to do well.
I'm Chris Hahn, the Aggressive Progressive. Check out a new episode of the Aggressive Progressive podcast every Tuesday. The election is heating up just as the year is winding down. Stick with me. I'll tell you the truth as I see it. Download the Aggressive Progressive on Pandora or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, it's Mark Goodman.
And I'm Alan Light.
On today's podcast, Record Store Day founder Carrie Colleton is joining us to discuss the April 20th RSD special releases.
Plus, we'll talk live with our audience, the Sound Up Pod Squad, and find out who still listens to vinyl. And some updates from the Beatles universe.
Oh, good. Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Light, the only music podcast that matters. Get it on Pandora, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
When did you know? I mean, when did you first notice that he had this, had a gift? I mean, had a talent. You know, like as a kid, you rhyme and you, like for me, I was making the most crappiest 10 rhymes ever, right? So that's is obviously why I don't do that. But but you obviously noticed something about him as not just a kid who was just messing around and was going to move on in 2 years, but he obviously had this talent.
Well, you know what's crazy, bro? I had no idea he was rapping. He came home with a song one day. It was called My Rollie, right? Mm-hmm. He had him and a couple of friends on it. And I listened to it. Of course, it wasn't 100%.
Right.
But my first shock was, not only is he on the beat right, but he got good words and good cadence. So, of course, I had to go, that's good, but I didn't overdo it. Right. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, that's good. I didn't overdo it, but in my head, I'm going, holy shit, the kid can actually rap. You know what I'm saying? Then he kept doing records. He didn't have his focus at first because, like every artist, you're so eager to get to the next song. And young artists don't understand this. Being so eager to get to the next song means you don't fully, could potentially mean you won't fully complete the prior song. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he was dealing with that for a little bit. So he didn't just start. I think he started when he was like 16, like 10 years he'd been involved.
Oh, wow.
And now he has a record out now called On My Own, which is pretty amazing. I'd like to send that to you if you hadn't heard it.
Oh, no, definitely. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. And he has this new record that he's about to put out, which like it really gave me chills. On My Own is a record that he kind of talk about how he's on his own because he realized the friends that he thought were going to be there is no longer around. Now, these are the same people that he would bring to the house, and I would go, being who I am and from, street mentality and known to always watch my surroundings, I would always tell him, that one, you probably don't want to hang out with him. This one is a complete snake. That one is just there for whatever you could give him. Right. That one is just there for this. And of course, like a kid, he thinks I want to spoil his fun. So he goes, nah, Dad, you just always say that about everybody. So fast forward, he comes up with a song now called On My Own because everyone I told him wouldn't be there and was a snake, it wasn't no good, is no longer there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm proud of him for actually growing up and recognizing some things. And really, like, I don't have to, like, I'm a father, so a father always going to tell his kid right from wrong, and of course, they're not going to listen because they're kids. Right. But now he sees it, so I can see the growth from him, and big shout out to my son, La Boogie. Nice. An amazing artist and an awesome son.
That's awesome. So your follow-up track for that would be Dad Was Right.
That's right.
Told you so. Yeah, no, I mean it's great. He's like it's. I feel like it's one of those situations where like, and my kids are 6 and 7, so they're not rhyming yet. But like it's when a friend goes up to you and like, hey, listen to my new music, and you have to pretend you like it. But then when they're really good, you're like, oh, good, I don't have to pretend anymore. It's actually
yeah.
Pretty fun. Thank you. Of course, DJ Premier is on this on this single, and Take a Step, and first for people who don't get, what does a Premier bring to a record that you've worked with so many that very few could actually do, especially on this record.
Right. Well, with Premier on this particular record, so everyone, you probably noticed, everyone calls me Berkowitz, Burko, right. Billy Burko, or something like that. But the way Premier says, he got his little, this scratchy voice, like he like, Burko. So I just loved it. You know what I'm saying? So I literally called him. He went in the studio just to go, Burko. But I needed him on it because I was in such a groove, and Premier had been so inspirational to me throughout my entire career. To have him on the record is an amazing thought. But to actually know that he would take the time out to go in a studio, travel to the studio, go in the studio and go. It gave me even that more of a push. And I look at Premier and I value his opinion. So as soon as I did it, as soon as I finished it, I sent it over to him. And he go, I don't like the way this is too loud, that's too low, that's too this, that's too that. I value his opinion. So just to have him involved with anything that I do is always amazing, man. And he's a supporter. So not only his family, but he actually support what I do. And he's 100% honest. It's almost like me conversating with my son, right? Like if it's not good, he's gonna tell me, I don't really like that one. So to get his approval for that song and the rest of the release, I'm really happy about it.
You mentioned that Premier has been the supporter for such a long time, and the story is that he was first really impressed when he first the M.O.P's first single, right? How About Some Hardcore? Mm-hmm. Can you talk about the first time you met Premier? Like, kind of what did you know about him, and then also that first time that. Because I want to ask you about the first time you went to WBLS studios, because I grew up in Washington Heights, New York, right? And I remember when Z100 would be like make a point and say absolutely no hip hop, in their voiceover. So radio in the early 90s and late 80s was very. If you fast forward today, it's like they're trying to get as much rap as possible, but late 80s, early 90s, they weren't trying to touch it. So can you talk about kind of meeting Premier in the WBLS studios, but also what was the importance for not just M.O.P, but for a hip hop artist to get on radio back then?
Oh, it was just as important as it is now. You kind of need that you needed that then to, you needed to be verified, or you needed, somebody to say, well, this is good. And that meant, if you was on the radio then. Mm-hmm. But meeting Premier that was the first time I met Premier at WBLS. Mm. And even though I was a fan, I'm a fan of Just to Get a Rep and what Gang Starr is doing. I had no idea that he was an actual fan of M.O.P's. Right. Of course, I heard my boy Lay said, yo, Premier like y'all stuff. Premier like the How About Some Hardcore. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm hitting this weed and I'm drunk, so I don't really know what that really means, but it's great, I guess. But when I walked into the studio, Premier tells this story all the time, how he the same way I had my hat on in How About Some Hardcore video, I had my hat down low, the old traditional Brooklyn way. And he like, yo, when you walked into WBLS, you looked like you wanted to rob me. He always says it. But it was just amazing to be recognized by somebody of his caliber. You know what I mean? Like, we standing on the corner all the time, the way we grew up, and we would hear cars come by playing, Just to Get a Rap or whatever Gang Starr record was out. And I loved the look that they had. I loved Guru. I loved his look. Like, it was like, he was different. His voice was amazing. I'm not sure if we'll ever find anyone else with a voice that's that amazing in hip hop. So to know that they paid attention to something that we did was crazy. You know what I mean? Even today, Premier hit me early this morning, like about 8 o'clock this morning. And I'm always, I feel the same way like when I walked into WBLS. I feel like same excitement, even though it's 20 some odd years later. If he hit me, I'm excited. If he's hit me and it's something positive about something I did, I feel like I did good. I take that. I really hold on to his opinion. I value his opinion. So great guy, man. I love him. And hanging out with him is like hanging out with, your cousin you ain't seen, your favorite cousin that you haven't seen in a few months. You know what I mean?
The track on this release, Take a Step, which is what Premier's on. When I hear it, it's you and you talking about, and also about M.O.P, kind of taking us about how M.O.P has never, led people astray, and that you're kind of continuously leading the way. Why did you feel you need to kind of address this topic now?
Well, I don't feel like I really need to. I feel like people deserve to understand, you know what I mean, the positioning that M.O.P has. And this is no disrespect to anyone in the business, anyone from Brooklyn in the business, but M.O.P had carried Brooklyn across this world. And we carried the flag proudly. I don't think anyone else from Brooklyn has a bigger stronghold around the world in the music industry like M.O.P, like a solid stronghold. You may get some that may have a 2-year run, may get some that may have a 5-year run, but we had this run for 20 plus years around the world. You know what I mean? So it's important for people to understand how important M.O.P is. I think people deserve that because we're humbled, right? Like we don't go, we're the greatest. No one can mess with us. Or we did this on that record. We killed this person on that stage. We don't have to do that because we're humble enough not to. But somebody has to recognize what M.O.P has done for the culture and for Brooklyn.
Hey, I'm Mark Goodman.
And I'm Alan Light.
On today's podcast, in celebration of International Guitar Month, Pete Townsend of The Who will join us.
Pete went deep with us into his relationship with the guitar and with music in general, the new Broadway version of Tommy. He clarified the status and the future of The Who and much, much more.
Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Light, the only music podcast that matters. Get it on Pandora, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Chris Hahn, the Aggressive Progressive. Check out a new episode of the Aggressive Progressive podcast every Tuesday. You know, the election is heating up just as the year is winding down. Stick with me. I'll tell you the truth as I see it. Download the Aggressive Progressive on Pandora or wherever you get your podcasts.
And you also you look at the caliber of artists. You know, you both have M.O.P has collaborated with throughout your careers, and kind of how I feel like it's always a good collaboration, and you always like to the Meth Man point is like you always makes each other's kind of step up their game. When you talk about how you collaborate with Jay-Z and Premier and G-Rap and Busta Rhymes and Remy Ma, just to name a few of them, what I think is interesting is that you. I don't know who actually, I don't know if it was you or Fame, but you talked about how kind of most of these collaborations happened where you guys were in studio, somebody's next door, they hear it, they want to get on the track. But one thing that kind of stood out to me is that one of you guys said that OC was the only one you guys went after for a collaboration. Mm-hmm. One is that true? But two, like why did you guys go after OC? Like what was it about OC that made you guys want to collaborate with him for Down for Whatever?
Right. Well, people may say something like, because he's from Brooklyn, had nothing to do with that. It had something to do with OC being dope, like his voice, his cadence, the lyrics, the way he wrote his lyrics, what he would say, and the song just felt like OC, like let's put OC on the record. So that's the first collaboration that we've ever went after. Mm-hmm. And OC's the homie, man. Like he's a good guy. So we like working with people that we connect with. And OC was someone we connected with. You know, even though we connected in the studio, it wasn't just all about the studio. It was just about how cool he was, how talented he was. And he says it all the time, and especially then, yo, good luck and thanks, boom, boom, boom. That means a lot to do something with somebody that's dope. You know what I mean? It means more to us to do something with somebody that's dope, as opposed to just doing something with someone that has a bigger name. Like you said, like we did all these collaborations with all these big names. I don't think their names matter to us. It's more about how good the song was. That's what was more important to us, and that's what's always going to be more important with us. And shout out to my man OC, by the way. I see my brother still making some moves or whatever. Him and the whole DITC crew, they're still making some moves. And thank you for even bringing OC up, because I might need to call him and see if I can get him on a record. I've already started the next release, so I'm about 5 songs into that already. So I'll probably get OC to come and join me on that.
That's dope. Yeah, I remember I asked Buck Wild about OC, and he pretty much said he's a genius. Like, like he's like one of the most talented people we've ever worked with.
Yeah, OC's amazing, bro.
Of course, I'm going to be all over with this, but But I want to ask you about Havoc from Mobb Deep, who's on the track "One to Grow On." You, M.O.P. and Mobb Deep, essentially your careers are kind of started out at the same time. With the M.O.P's debut To the Death and Mobb Deep's Juvenile Hell. What first impressed you about, I guess, Mobb Deep when you first heard them, but then also what does impress you about Havoc on this track, One to Grow On?
Well, with Mobb Deep, a lot of people don't know this, but M.O.P. and Mobb Deep is the first artist that we've ever met in the business. And tiny little dudes, but they were so dope. Like, their music was dope and they were so street about them. I'm like, these little ass dudes. But as people, which is always more important to me, as people, they were cool as hell. And we kept that same rapport for all of these years. With One to Grow On, it's a record that people ask me, the people around me ask, that have heard the album ask, why didn't you have to do a whole verse? Because I didn't need them to do a whole verse. I needed to show that representation of Havoc backing me up. Or you know what I'm saying? Or Havoc supports me. Because I support him and we support each other. And I thought it would be really dope to just have him. He did the ad-libs. Like, it's really hard just to ask an artist, yo, can you get on this track, but I just want you to do the ad-libs. Like, someone as big as Havoc. Yeah. And he did it. And it's that feeling that I want. I love hearing him do the ad-libs and the hook with me. You know what I mean? Like, it sounds really amazing. It feels really amazing. The style of the beat that Too Busy provided, there's no drums in it. So it allowed me to dance on the track and say some things that I really wanted to say in a way that can hit you in the pit of your stomach. And to have my guy Havoc to come on board and help me out with that, in my own words, genius.
A track I really like is the final track on the album. It's with Worship the Ground featuring Cormega. And I really like it because it from my ear perspective, I totally could be wrong, but it's influenced by gospel, the church. And you talk to artists about kind of the significance of not religious significance, but the music significance of the church, right? Or gospel music on them in their art form. Did you take this? Was this in play when you were kind of creating this track, Worship the Ground? Or am I way off?
No, you know what? It was more about I want to do a record with Cormega, but I want to do a genuine record, right? Like this, because again, this whole project for me, it's not about music. It's not about rapping. It's about explaining. To have Cormega on a record called Men of Honor, like just to have that Men of Honor feel, like he's a man of honor. So we worship the ground because Cormega, he's not tainted in the music business, on the street, or in our urban college system, right?
Right.
Everyone loves him. Everyone respects him. Cormega is a man of honor. So, and this is my opinion and the reflection that I get from people around the world. So it was perfect to have Cormega on this, and he gives me exactly what I want on this record. He gives me 90 vintage Cormega.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I needed that. You know what I'm saying? I needed that from him. He came and did his thing, and I appreciate my brother. And again, he's another one that's always supported what M.O.P. does, and we always supported Cormega. So yeah, this record may have been the easiest record. You know what I'm saying? It may have been the easiest record to do. I sent him the beat. I sent him a couple beats. He said, I like the first one. Okay, cool. I'm going in the studio to do it. When? I want to go in tomorrow. He went in, did it, done deal. You know what I'm saying?
We call it, we busy listening session is a release. It's not an album. So one, what does that mean? But two, what happened? Then what happens after this? Well, what is next for you?
Oh, like I said, I'm already 4 or 5 songs into the next release. So, and I'm going to keep giving you releases until I decide to give you the album, which is called the Billy Dance Project. So, in actuality, the Billy Dance Project is an ongoing thing until we get to the full album. By then, we may have 40, 50 songs floating around. So yeah, this listening session, we busy. The listening session is what it is right now. I'm really excited about the excitement around it. People are, I'm getting calls, texts, emails, comments online about how people feel about this project, about this release, excuse me. And I'm excited, bro. And this is giving me fuel, right? So I'm not even at this stage in my career, like I'm not concerned with the money. I'm more concerned with the positioning and people understanding. Now, I always say it doesn't matter to me what people think, but it does, right? So I had, maybe about a year or two ago, I saw a comment where, I don't know if it's male, female, whoever it was like, Billy could never really rap. He was never really dope. He was never nice to whatever, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I let it bother me for 30 minutes, and that was all I needed. And then I use it as fuel. So now I'm giving you multiple different styles of music just so I can possibly impress that person that left that comment that I don't really care about their opinion, but I do. Right. You know what I'm saying? So even with this particular release, the listening session, it's designed for you to listen. So I'm hoping that one person that left that comment, I want everybody to listen, but I really want that person to listen. You know what I mean? I need he or she to understand that I could really rap, even though I'm not a rapper. I just happen to know how to do it, and I do it really well. I need that person to understand that.
Nice.
You know what I'm saying?
That's dope. The new release is We Busy, the listening session. Of course, he's legendary Billy Dance. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.
I'm Chris Hahn, the Aggressive Progressive. Check out a new episode of the Aggressive Progressive podcast every Tuesday. The election is heating up just as the year is winding down. Stick with me. I'll tell you the truth as I see it. Download the Aggressive Progressive on Pandora or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, it's Mark Goodman.
And I'm Alan Light.
On today's podcast, Record Store Day founder Carrie Colleton is joining us to discuss the April 20th RSD special releases.
Plus, we'll talk live with our audience, the Sound Up Pod Squad, and find out who still listens to vinyl. And some updates from the Beatles universe.
Oh, good. Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Light, the only music podcast that matters. Get it on Pandora, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.